Hi there, my name's Phil Rice, and I'm here to help you with your hermetic training, your meditation practice, and your spiritual development pathway. Now, some of you may have experienced lucid dreams, where you are dreaming and suddenly become aware that you were dreaming. And in some cases, you might be able to explore, interact with the dream environment, with the dream characters, with the dream objects, the dream symbols. Maybe it lasts for, a minute, maybe longer. Sometimes it may just be, you get all excited and the dream ends and then you wake up. Okay, and then some of you may have also had an out-of-body experience, an astral projection, or a mental wandering experience. There's many different types of experiences that sort of fall into these, visual, experiential categories, but they can be quite impactful and, quite profound. Now, one thing that I noticed, that I have noticed in, my time adventuring and exploring, and I have to say, it never gets old, is that I wondered about the difference between a lucid dream and, well, just a dream really, but a lucid dream and an out-of-body experience. Now, what I've come to understand from exploring by sort of poking and prodding and the environmental experience, if you will, and from, exploring the length, girth, and width of the experience, being the curious investigator, the detective, the scientist, is that there seems to be, and, I'd really love to hear your comments on this, because I have my experiences, and this is what I've picked up on, is that when you're in a lucid dream, let's say you're in your room and you're having a dream experience and you become lucid and you're like, wow, this is my room, but it's also kind of not my room. There's some other strange things in here that are not really my room. Now, you'll go up to maybe an object or the wall and you can, maybe it's solid to start with, or maybe you can put your hand through it. Okay, if you push enough, and it's a lucid dream, you should eventually be able to just put your hands through the wall or through an object, and you'll feel it. There'll be like a sponginess, like there's a substance that the experience is made of. Okay, maybe not so much in the actual sort of in your room in the open space, but when you put your hand through, it's like, oh, there's something there. You can feel it. Okay. Now, this one time, and there's been several, but I'll mention a specific time. I was awake in a dream in my room, and I was like, oh, good, okay. I've got to remember not to get too excited, because as soon as you start getting the emotional body excited, it can knock you out of the dream, right? And so, all right, I've got to practice being relaxed and calm and just being inquisitive. That's what I like. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So, I thought, okay, I'm going to walk into that wall and see if I can walk into the next room. Well, I'm just going to walk into the wall and see what happens. So I walked into the wall and just felt myself getting encased in this soft, spongy kind of substance. And there was nothing there. And I was just encased in it. It was just very thick, and I was like, ugh. And then I just sort of just slowly moved around and then walked back in and popped back out into the room, and there I was. And I pushed my hands in and thought, well, I should be able to feel into the next room, but I can't, It was quite strange. Oh, okay. Right. Fast forward or rewind to an out-of-body experience. How do we tell the difference between the two? Is there a difference? Well, what happened is that I sort of woke up. I was sort of lying on the floor, going, "Oh, I'm having another sort of experience here. What's this?" And I thought, well, this is my room, okay. And I looked around, and it was okay. I could see it was kind of dark, but not really. And I thought, oh yes, I'm going to do this experiment where I just walk through the wall. Now, so I walked to the wall, and I pushed my hand through, and it just went through. And then once it got to a certain point, it sort of felt free again. I was like, oh, okay. And so I walked through the wall, and then I was in the next room. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Okay. And I do believe this was after that last experience in the lucid dream. Now, one thing I noticed is that when I was walking through the wall, I was experiencing the different layers. I experienced the wallpaper, the jib or the cladding, and then the empty space that housed the insulation, and then the wooden studs, the wooden bracings. And then I felt the next layer of cladding, and then the wallpaper, and then I was through, and I could see it and feel the different textures as I was moving through. But I didn't get that in a lucid dream. And I've had this experience and many other of my out-of-body experiences as well, where, I remember probably one of my very first ones, where I was sort of pulled out of my body. It was quite an experience. I won't go into too much detail, but I'll just say that I woke up on the floor again. It seems to be a popular thing with me. Wake up on the floor, and probably make some jokes about that. But waking up on the floor, halfway between, my legs were through my wardrobe, and my body was on the floor under the bed, and I'd lifted myself up. And as I lifted up through the mattress, I could sense and experience all the layers and the textures. And I could see them. And it was, and then I flew up through the ceiling, and I went through the layers of the ceiling as well, the wood, and I could sense the dust and it was, it was like I was there, and I was able to sort of explore the strata of the building materials as they were layered on top of each other. And even the wood, you could sort of pay attention to the graininess of the wood. It's very similar to when you do mental transference into objects, and you can sense the sort of the tactile experience and see it at the same time, and even sometimes smell it, right? Depending on what you choose to activate, if you will. And so I've actually done this experiment a few times in different lucid dreams and out-of-body experiences, and I found it to hold pretty well. And that, the dream experience, what I'm seeing in a lucid dream, the world is like made of this substance, and there's a facade there. It molds and forms a shape, and don't get me wrong, it's very, very real looking. And, often I've found in a dream it can sometimes be very solid, much more so than in an out-of-body experience. And the realness in the outer-body experience is like, it's much closer to kind of what you'd expect if you were non-physical. So yeah, I just wanted to share this because, learning how to understand the different ways we experience these sort of non-physical realities, if you will, and giving them a kind of a categorization or classifying them. If you're a hermeticist, you're kind of a scientist in exploring consciousness in a way, and if you like to look at it that way. And I like to sort of get to know the landscape and build my maps of experience so I can pass them on for those that are interested to hear about these things. and I'd love to hear what you've got to say. This is quite an interesting topic, this one. So, look, I've got to say that both of these experiences are highly valuable, and they can both offer their own sort of unique opportunities. And what I've how I've discovered framing a lucid dream or a dream experience is it's almost like a private pocket of the astral experience, if you will. It's not necessarily the astral plane, but it is. But it's sort of a bubble of your own experience. It doesn't mean you won't sometimes get visitors, because I've certainly had visitors of different types, but I find it tends to be a lot more private, whereas an out-of-body experience, depending on which level of the of reality you're working with, you're going to get visitors for sure, and other occupants of that, or denizens, if you will. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Always curious to try and find ways of making sense of things. All right, thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel. If you like this and think somebody else might enjoy it, please consider sharing it. Also, please leave a comment. Tell me about your experiences. I'd love to hear. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Stay well.